November is a really great time to sow seeds, and in this video we're going to talk about 10 hardy annuals you can start now in November, believe it or not. Yes, you can. Until I learned that you could sow seeds more or less right through the winter, I did find the winter months really depressing. But once I knew I could sow seeds and have things to look forward to in the spring, then I got really excited about winter. Before I get into it, let me draw your attention to a video I put out yesterday, which is about all the flowers that keep going. Some of them even keep going after a light first frost, and they are amazing. So if you want your garden to be packed full of flowers right up until the actual winter proper, then you want to check out that video, and I'll link it in the description below. Let's get back to this video. Before I get on to the hardy annuals I'm going to be sowing now in November, let's just talk about why November works for sowing hardy annuals. And the clue is in the name. They are hardy, which means they are hardy through the winter. They actually thrive and benefit from the colder periods. Even in my garden now, some of those flowers that flowered in the summer have dropped their seeds and they are beginning to germinate in autumn because they like the cooler conditions. And if they're not germinating, they're lying dormant in the soil, ready to take off in the warmer weather the other side of Christmas. And as you can see, the sweet peas, Cerinthe and Nigella have all self-seeded in my garden, and this footage is in November 2025. And as you can see, they're at various stages, so some of the Nigella are almost like full mature plants ready to flower, and others are still just baby seedlings. So that tells us it's a good time to sow some of these plants now. By sowing them in November, we're just mimicking their natural cycle and the natural conditions that they like to grow in. What we're trying to do is get strong roots that are ready to flower earlier and more vigorously next year. And because we're sowing them under cover, and don't worry if you don't have a greenhouse, we'll solve that problem as well. We're going to be protecting them from the worst of the weather while still giving them the cool conditions that they actually thrive in. And these are hardy annuals we're going to be doing, not hardy perennials. I'm going to do another video on hardy perennials. So let's get into it. Number one, probably the easiest of all to grow, is cornflower. And this is the annual cornflower. It's great for pollinators. You can use it as a cut flower. It's more of a filler cut flower than a main cut flower, obviously. It's a standard cottage garden plant, and you can sow it now in trays in the greenhouse, or you can sow it in a bottle or even a plant pot with a bottle over it to protect it from the worst of the winter weather, so that it has plenty of time to establish its little plants before spring, when it will shoot up and flower earlier than if you sowed it the other side of winter. Number two, Larkspur. I've already started some Larkspur, but I haven't really grown anywhere near enough. I tend to do little demonstrations for these videos, and then I don't go back to it and actually sow the amount of seeds that I really do need for my own garden. So Larkspur, another one. I have done mine in the bottles in the greenhouse, but you can do them in the bottles outside. It just needs just that extra little bit of warmth will help them to germinate. And if they don't germinate, by the way, don't throw the bottle out, because some of them do go dormant. Some of the seeds will go dormant over the winter, but will come up in the spring. So never throw a bottle out if your seeds haven't germinated. Wait until the spring. If they haven't germinated by sort of April, May, then you probably can assume that they aren't going to. So don't be too hasty to assume you've failed. Larkspur are tall, spiring cottage garden plants, absolutely beautiful, make a gorgeous cut flower as well. And they're related to the delphinium, but they're annuals. So delphinium is a perennial and Larkspur is an annual. So they're great to start now. Three is Nigella, and mine have already self-seeded in the garden. They're already fluffy little fronds and small plants. It's hardly believable that they're going to survive the winter, but they will. And you can start these now, and in the winter sowing method is fine, and they'll grow a little bit better in the bottles or in the greenhouse because they will be protected from the harshest of wind and weather in general. And by the way, I don't recommend starting these hardy annuals in the house. It will be too warm and they won't like it in there. Protecting it from the worst of the winter weather is fine, but overheating them is absolutely detrimental to the plant health of these hardy annuals. I can't stress enough that they prefer cooler rather than hotter conditions. Number 4, Calendula. I've already started some Calendula. I really like these hardy annuals because it means you can start them now and you can have another go in the spring and late winter. And that way you're going to have your garden full of a succession of these flowers, because annuals don't tend to last that long unless they're cut and come again, unless they benefit from deadheading. So if they don't benefit from deadheading and they flower once and then they kind of peter out, it's good to have a succession of plants to plant out in your garden and to keep flowering. Number 5, sweet peas. It's a classic to start sweet peas now. I have of late just been starting them in the spring, but I was a little bit disappointed with the results this year because we had a very hot spring and it was very hot and it was very dry. We had a big heat wave and the sweet peas did not like that at all. So that was my worst ever sweet pea harvest ever that I've ever had since I've been growing sweet peas. They do not like it. So if you do have a hot spring, you're better to start them now because they'll put on a bit of growth. As you saw, those ones self-seeded on my driveway. I mean, I didn't even do anything. I don't even know how the seeds even got there, but they self-seeded and there they are. Sweet peas are really easy to grow, but they do like the cooler conditions. So it's good to start them now. Then when they get cold in the winter, they kind of bush up. They get strong to survive the winter. And then they make really good plants and they will take off and flower more quickly next year. Like many of the others I've mentioned, you can also sow them again in spring, which is great because it gives you options because you still get another chance to sow them in the spring. Number 6, Clarkia. These are honestly one of my absolute favourites. I've only been sowing them for a couple of years, but they are gorgeous cottage garden plants. They are super easy to grow. They are hardy. They make great cut flowers. I mean, they're just perfect. They're beautiful. You can buy them in all the shades of pink. I love them and I definitely recommend you sowing Clarkia. You can start them now. Number 7, Gypsophila. Gypsophila Covent Garden in particular is a hardy annual that you can start now for earlier flowers. You can use them obviously as cut flowers as well, but they also look nice billowing out of containers with taller plants on top. Super easy to grow, super hardy. If you start them now, it just means you won't have to wait as long for flowers in the summer. Number 8, Snapdragons. These are probably the least hardy of all the plants that we will be growing that I've mentioned in this video. So depending on where you live, they definitely will need the winter sowing. So they'll need to be grown in a bottle. And possibly if you're growing them in a greenhouse or something like that and it's unheated, in a really hard frost, you would need to use a frost cloth, but they are still pretty hardy. So if you can save them from the worst of the weather, they will be brilliant and they'll come up really nice and early the following year. And of course, they are beautiful cut flowers. And it will also, surviving the winter also really toughens them up. So number 9, another one that's self-seeded in my garden is Cerinthe, honeywort. And it's a beautiful cut flower as well. It comes around the same time as my sweet peas and they go together very well as a cut flower in a bouquet, the honeywort and the sweet peas. Again, it likes it cooler. In fact, I started mine too early last year and they grew far too big inside the bottles and super leggy. I didn't want them to be that big that soon going into winter. So this year I'm starting them a bit later and November is the ideal time. Number 10 is poppies. And if you hear a strange noise in the background while I'm recording this, my dogs are panting and panicking because it's fireworks here. It's nearly bonfire night and all the fireworks are going off and they are not very happy right now. So I do apologize about that. So you can do California poppies. I did some last year and I wasn't super impressed with them. I thought they were kind of a bit small and weedy. I much prefer these peony poppies, which you can also start now. In fact, these do very, very well overwintering outside. In fact, straight outside. You don't even need to actually have them in a greenhouse or a water bottle. They are just extremely hardy. And as you can see here, they're beautiful and they come in a variety of very ornamental shapes and sizes. I love them. They're not great as a cut flower because they literally don't last very long at all. They flower one day and they're gone the next, but they are still very well worth growing. And because you can grow so many of them so easily and succession sow them, so you can sow them again the other side of winter as well, and they'll still come up later, then you can just have a succession of them in the garden at all times, which means that even though they don't last very long, you can have lots of them continually flowering. And of course, the poppy heads The seed heads are stunning as well, and you can collect tons of seeds. And in my case, they seem to come up true as well. So I love them. I love it totally. I'm going to be sowing some definitely tomorrow. Okay, so that's it. 10 seeds. And you know what's really great about these seeds as well is they're super easy. So anyone can do them. Even if you're a beginner, it's very easy to do. So I hope you're inspired to get sowing and you don't feel too glum about the winter. Now that you know, you can start already sowing your seeds for next summer. How fantastic is that? Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friends, and don't forget to join our Friday night gardening club in the chat. See ya. Bye.